I'm sharing my intermittent fasting 2-year update with you in today's video. Hello everyone, Jennifer L. Scott here, and welcome to the Daily Connoisseur. So if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I have been doing intermittent fasting, and this is the 2-year update. I feel like I have so much to share with you. I have a lot of questions I'm going to answer in today's video. If you are just discovering me for the first time, here's what you can expect from this video. I am not a nutritionist or a doctor. I am a mom of 4, and I'm a totally normal person. I'm just like you. So I'm not coming in this video from a place of giving you health advice. So because of this, I do recommend that if you want to try intermittent fasting, that you should consult this with your doctor. So that's my disclaimer. I am sharing my own experience. So what you're going to get here is what my experience has been as a woman in her early 40s who has been doing intermittent fasting regularly for 2 years. I do the 16-8 method. I do not do any special diet. I'm not on keto. I don't watch what I eat necessarily. However, I try to eat a very healthy diet. And you can see this if you watch any of my what I eat in a day videos or my cooking videos. I do my best to be healthy and live a healthy lifestyle, but at the same time, I'm not one of these extreme people or health gurus or anything like that, okay? So you can expect my honest 2-year update, everything that's happened, the weight that I've lost, the health benefits I've seen, the detrimental things that I've seen. I'm going to answer that all for you in today's video, hopefully. If you're looking for a really detailed explanation of my first year, I do recommend you watch my year 1 update because that goes into great detail about my history. But I'll give you the shortened version here. Basically, in March of 2020, I decided that I wanted to lose weight. I have 4 children. I was completely finished with breastfeeding and having babies. And so I thought, okay, I want to start losing the baby weight now. I am 5'5.5", 5'6". I always just round up to 5'6". That's my height. And I started off at 145 pounds. That was the heaviest that I personally had ever been. So that's how much I weighed in March of 2020. I had heard about intermittent fasting on YouTube. Don't you just love YouTube? I don't think I would have heard about it if it hadn't been for YouTube. I found out about it on YouTube, listened to Dr. Berg, Dr. Fung. There's a bunch of other channels too, like Autumn Bates. I watched the TEDx talk on intermittent fasting by Cynthia Furlow. So I educated myself by watching videos on YouTube, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. I don't know what I thought. I just thought maybe I'd lose 10 pounds. I didn't document it. I didn't, you kind of do before and after pictures, although I have a lot of footage just because of YouTube, so I can show that to you here. But I didn't sit down and become really intentional about it. I just thought maybe I'd lose a few pounds. But I was very shocked to find 1 year later that I had lost 29 pounds. So I went from 145 pounds to 116 pounds, which was the weight that I was through college, like my early 20s. I never thought that I would get back to that weight, never. I just thought that was just never going to happen. I figured I'd probably, you know, if I was lucky, get to 125 and I'd be happy with that. I really probably would have been happy with that. But I was amazed at how the weight just fell off. Now I do the 16-8 method, which means that I fast for 16 hours. Much of those hours are sleeping hours at night. And then I have an 8-hour eating window. So during the 8-hour eating window, I have my meals. We're going to talk about this later, but I do typically fit in 3 meals plus tea time in my 8-hour window. Sometimes it's just 2 meals. I would typically eat breakfast at 9 a.m. and I would have dinner at 5 p.m. So give or take, you know, a half an hour here or there, it was generally 16 hours that I was fasting. Again, I was not on a diet, so I did not cut carbs, I did not cut sugar, I was not doing keto, paleo, any special diet. I kept eating the foods that I enjoy eating, and that was what was so amazing and wonderful about this. So I did that consistently for the entire year, rarely taking a day off because it was during the pandemic and I wasn't going out to eat or anything late at night or going to parties. So it's pretty easy to do during that year. And I was astonished to find that I had lost 29 pounds. Now, if you watch my 18-month update or any of the other intermittent fasting videos I've done since then, some of you will know that I kept losing a little bit more. So I was curious. I thought, am I going to stop at 116? I stayed there for a long time and totally happy to be there. I mean, that was the weight of me in my glory days in college. So I was totally happy to be at 116. I did happen to continue to lose weight, and the lowest I ever got was 112 pounds. I mentioned this in one of the fasting videos I did, and now I can't remember which one it was, but I did mention this. So I did get to as low as 112 pounds. I've never gone below that. Now, still 112 pounds was right about what I was when I was in high school. Okay, so it's still not crazy. I have been at that weight with this height typically. But the thing that was strange about that was that I was not on a diet. I was not exercising anymore. We'll talk about exercise later too. But I just kept losing weight. I wasn't even trying to lose weight. In fact, I was doing things like introducing cream back into my coffee. Because previously to this, I was having black coffee when I was in the weight loss mode for that first year. So I'd wake up, I typically would have coffee at around 7 a.m., but not break my fast until 9 a.m. So I was having a black coffee at 7 a.m. So when I lost the weight after the first year, I decided to add the cream back into my coffee at 7 a.m. Some people think it breaks the fast, some people think it doesn't, but either way, I didn't care because I was just happy. I just wanted the cream back in my coffee and it wasn't a big deal to me. Okay, so I even added the cream back into my coffee, but I was still losing weight. So I spoke to my doctor about it because that's the responsible thing to do. And we had everything checked. People asked, what about your thyroid? Is your thyroid okay? Yes, my thyroid is fine. I had everything checked. I've had lots of blood panels, lots of blood work done. She said that that is just the weight that my body is happy at. And I accept that. I'm totally fine with that. So she did recommend to me that I could add healthy fats back in my diet if I wanted to gain a little bit more weight. So things like avocado, nuts, and fatty fish, things like that. So I have done that as well. And so where I am right now, 2 years later, is I vacillate between 112 pounds and 117 pounds. It just goes. It depends on what time of month it is, honestly. Sometimes, ladies, you'll understand this. As you go toward your cycle, you tend to retain more water and you gain a little more weight. So I'm usually up toward the 117 pound mark around then. Then sometimes I'm not even trying. I'm not going on extended fasts or dieting or doing strenuous exercise. Sometimes I'll weigh myself and I'll be 112 pounds. So that's where I am. It's a very happy range for me. I'm so happy, honestly. I love being at this weight. I feel very happy. I'm very healthy. I am very happy with my doctor. We're all happy. And so it's a good thing. So being on the internet and sharing this information with you opens myself up, of course, to a lot of criticism and speculation from people. And I do have people who come to me and they say, you know, unkind things about how I look, too skinny, or insinuating that I have some sort of eating disorder, which is not the case at all. And I know that that's what happens when you put yourself out on the internet. I've been on YouTube for 10 years, so I completely get it, okay? But what this has affirmed to me, because I love the intermittent fasting lifestyle so much, is that this is ancient wisdom. This is not a new fad. It's not a diet. It's not something that every trendy celebrity is doing in 2022. I mean, it may be, but what I'm saying is that this is nothing new. In fact, this is a very time-honored, traditional way of eating. And if you've seen any of my videos with Dr. Patty Tay, I discuss this with her, and she's a legitimate board-certified doctor, okay? So I have her to back me up on this, but also just observe through literature and through studying history that this is how people have always eaten. In our modern culture, we have these open plan kitchens. The kitchen is always open and the lights are always on and people are constantly snacking, constantly eating. That is not normal. If you've read any of my Madame Chic books, you will notice that the themes of intermittent fasting run through my books. And this is what is so crazy about this, is that I wrote those books long before I knew anything about intermittent fasting. But that's what I was doing when I was living in Paris. That's what I was experiencing. After dinner in Paris, the kitchen was closed. Yes, we were having later dinners. We were not eating at 5 p.m., but we would eat dinner, you know, at 7, 7:30, 8. The kitchen was closed after that. There was no snacking in that household. And then you would be fasting all the way until your breakfast the next morning, which is mainly the tenet of what I subscribe to. There were no bowls of cereal at 11 p.m. or steady streams of snacking as you watch television after dinner. That was completely unheard of. So in Lessons from Madame Chic, chapter 1 is snacking is so not chic. And chapter 2 is deprive yourself not. And these are two tenets that are completely compatible with intermittent fasting. And I'm so glad to put a name to it and to actually have rules and parameters by which I can practice this at home in America. I have so much more I want to share with you, but I'm going to do that through your questions because I posed a question on the community tab here on YouTube and asked if you had any questions for me or comments that you would like to share. And a lot of them have things that I wanted to cover anyway in this video. Before I get to the questions, I wanted to read a few positive testimonials from people. And Sarah wrote, I've tried every diet imaginable to lose weight. Nothing really worked or was sustainable for me. I saw one of your videos talking about the amazing success you had with intermittent fasting, and it convinced me to give it a try. I've lost 40.2 pounds in 6 months. I can't believe it. I haven't been this small in 9 years, and the craziest thing is that it's so easy. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. You have changed my life. I feel so much better overall. I sleep better, I have more energy, and I just enjoy life more. So Sarah, congratulations. I love hearing that. And that's why I decided to share this, because this is very personal information, okay? I wouldn't normally go around and share how much I weigh and all of that with people. I've never done that on my channel in over 10 years or on my blog, but I decided to share this because I thought it could definitely help people because it helped me tremendously. And I'm so glad to hear, Sarah, that it changed your life. Okay, Phyllis says, I have been intermittent fasting for a year now, thanks to you, and have never felt better. I have lost 30 pounds and almost back to my weight at 21. That was my experience. It is easy and no foods are off the table. So that's wonderful, Phyllis. Congratulations. And Jennifer says, I'm so thankful for your IF videos. You discuss it in a way that makes it very approachable. Last year, March 13th to be precise, I watched one of your videos and I decided I could try this. Since then, I have lost 60 pounds. 60 pounds! I'm floored with the simplicity of fasting. So those are just a few of the testimonials we get. I always read wonderful comments like this from people, and I'm so happy for you. And I'm just glad that I was able to provide the information to have you look into it further. Okay, so let me get into your questions now. Mariana asks, did you ever extend your fasting period, or is it always 16 hours? Okay, so that's a good question. Typically, I've always just done a 16-hour fast. I've never done a longer fast than that intentionally. Like maybe one day I forgot breakfast and it was 18 hours, but nothing intentional. Some people do longer fasts, like my father will do a 24-hour fast every now and then, and he finds that to be very beneficial for himself. I do know a lot of people that do more, but typically I'm just doing 16 hours. Okay, Tracy says, I was wondering if you have continued to enjoy optimal health as you approach this milestone, and ask if you've ever considered doing longer fasts. Again, she asked the question. I don't know about longer fasts. Maybe if I talk to my healthcare practitioner and we find that would be good for any particular reason. I don't have plans to do them right now. I have enjoyed optimal health. I've never felt better in my entire life. And as I'm shooting this video, I am 41 years old. So that's a wonderful thing to be in your 40s and never have felt better. Yes, I felt great. My energy levels are much improved. I'm still exhausted, but I have 4 children, so that's why I'm tired. So the answer is yes, I have enjoyed optimal health, and I do feel that the benefits for intermittent fasting move way beyond weight loss. I do feel that when I'm in my fasting period, and I visualize this as well, that my body's taking care of all sorts of things. This is how I picture it. This is my non-scientific way of looking at it. I feel like my body has a to-do list of things, to do, to clean up, to work on, and that my body's able to do that while I'm fasting. But if you're constantly eating, it has to always stop and digest the food, and that's where all the energy is going. So I do feel that I am enjoying optimal health. And like I said, some of you were worried about my thyroid. My thyroid is good. Got that checked. Okay, a lot of people asked about intermittent fasting for breastfeeding mothers or when you are pregnant. So Zofishan says, would you recommend IF for breastfeeding mothers, like a milder version, or no IF at all? And then she asked about exercise. So I do not recommend intermittent fasting if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. I do not recommend it. I don't think it's recommended by doctors. Of course, you can talk to your doctor about it, but I would not do it because I would be worried about my milk supply going if I was breastfeeding, and don't do it while you're pregnant. So I am not advocating for that. And yes, I think you just need to wait. So I waited, let's see, if it was in March of 2020, my youngest child was about 2 when I decided to do that. I was no longer breastfeeding and had no plans to have another baby. So that's why I started, but I do not recommend you do it while breastfeeding or pregnant. So just wait until you're ready to do it. Okay, she also asked, did you incorporate any exercise with your intermittent fasting? Now, this is a question I get a lot. I wish I had a more inspirational answer for you, but I'm going to be very honest and let you know that I do not exercise. That's not something that I'm proud of, and I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm so amazing, I don't exercise and I lost weight. I want to start exercising. I haven't been doing it. So I have a knee injury on my right knee. Prior to that knee injury, I was really enjoying rebounding. I love rebounding. I would rebound for at least 5 to 10 minutes every day. When I injured my knee, I stopped the rebounding, and I have yet to start again. I'm really feeling better there, so I could probably start again. I also go on walks with my family. However, that is not a regular thing, and I would like to do it more. I don't go to a gym, I don't take a class, I don't have a personal trainer or anything like that. So I don't really exercise that much outside of the exercise that I incorporate into my everyday life. Now, that is another chapter in Lessons from Madame Chic and in my Madame Chic books. I do lead a very active life. I don't do intentional exercise. I would like to change that because I do believe I need to work on muscle training, muscle resistance. I don't even know the terms for it. I do think that it's important for my health to do that, so I would like to. To answer your question, I don't exercise intentionally. I do incorporate it into my day. Okay, Brooke asks, have you noticed any negative side effects or consequences since doing IF? Now, I mentioned this briefly in one of my previous videos, but I feel like once you start doing intermittent fasting and you're very serious about it and you're very regular about it and you adopt it as a way of life, I feel like you can't go back. I equated it to the Hotel California, and some of you thought that was kind of weird. It is a bit weird, but I truly feel that now that I've been doing this regularly for 2 years, I couldn't go back to eating late dinners and early breakfasts. I probably would feel ill. So I have reset my body in the sense that just have absolutely no desire for any food once I'm finished with dinner, and I eat early dinners usually at 5. Now, a lot of you ask the question, what if you go out to a restaurant or have you been to a party? Yes, and when I do that, when I'm invited to someone's house, I completely forget intermittent fasting rules and I will have a late dinner. Totally fine. I suffer for it though. I don't feel good, and I tend to have indigestion or I don't sleep very well if I eat later at night. So that's the case. I have never had an early morning breakfast because I've never been in a social situation where I would eat early in the morning. So I haven't experienced that, but I imagine if I had an early breakfast, a heavy breakfast at like 7 a.m. or 6:30, I wouldn't feel very well. So the thing is that when you retrain yourself, expect that you are retraining your body and telling it what it wants, basically. You know, Dr. Patty said that sometimes your hunger cravings at odd hours is just your body reminding you, oh, you ate this time yesterday. It doesn't mean that you're actually hungry. So if you normally have a bowl of cereal at 10:30 at night, you get hunger pains at 10:30 at night, not because you're actually hungry and need food, but because your body's saying, yesterday you fed me at this time. So when you retrain yourself, then let's say for an entire year, you don't eat past 6 o'clock at night, then suddenly you have a dinner at 9 o'clock at night, your body's going to think it's a bit strange. So it all makes sense to me, but that is one, it could be a negative thing if you think about it. Just make sure that this is what you want to do. The other thing, some people asked about hair loss because some people experience hair loss, or I think they call it shedding when you do intermittent fasting, or I know that some people who do keto experience this. Now, I was wondering myself if I was experiencing this and if it was from intermittent fasting. I have lost a lot of hair and grown it back and then lost it again and grown it back over the past 10 years through childbirth. And so I was looking at a bunch of pictures of myself from before I even did intermittent fasting, and I thought, wow, my hair was so thin. And then it grows back. I do experience hair loss. I have experienced it in the past 2 years, but it also grows back. I don't know what that's about, so if there's a doctor in the comments who could explain that. Those two would be the only things, maybe. I don't know if I could attribute that to intermittent fasting. But any other negative side effects, I really can't think of any. There has only been positive. The positive are no bloating, completely flat stomach. I mean, when has that happened? Especially after having 4 children. Feeling energetic, feeling good, feeling clear. I used to really suffer from chronic sinus infections. I have had, I think, 2 sinus infections in the past 2 years, but compared to the dozens that I would have before that, I don't know if intermittent fasting has something to do with that, possibly. So there's only good things, really, that I've noticed from it. So let's talk about where I've seen the difference in my body. And I see the difference just in the overall layer of fat that I had around my stomach area, around my thighs, and that area. But the place that I see the biggest difference is in my face. And I mentioned this in my 18-month update. So here's imagery of me. This was right when I began intermittent fasting, right around March of 2020, I believe this was taken. I wasn't pregnant, but look how swollen my face is. Look, it's just completely different. I look like a different person. I really feel that. I've lost inflammation, swelling, this whole area, especially my sinuses. I just see this huge difference in my face. I also see it in my body too. So I don't know, I feel like so much has been cleaned out of my system by doing intermittent fasting. Okay, Tracy asks, how do you handle emotional eating, or did you not have that issue? So I did have that issue when I was at my heaviest, and that's how I got there. I would stress eat. So if I was stressed at night, I would eat. And this is something that happens to all parents, I think, is that you spend the entire day with your children, looking after your family, thinking of every single other person but yourself. You don't have a moment to yourself. If you are an introverted person like I am, this might hit you a little harder because you just want to be alone. You want time to be you. You want time to express yourself and just be a whole person, just you. So I would express this stress that I had through eating in the evening, even though it wasn't my philosophy from what I learned in Paris or what I wrote about. I would have dinner and then I would convince myself that I was hungry at 10 o'clock at night. And I would work pretty late back then until about 11 o'clock at night. So I would have a bowl of cereal or something at 10 or 10:30 and I would snack at that point because I thought, well, poor me, you know, I have to stay up till 11 to work. So let me just give myself a treat. That's how I thought about it. So I would probably equate that to emotional eating, yes. It did take a while. It was hard in the beginning to break that. It really was. I mean, I would be voraciously hungry at 10 o'clock at night. I knew that I wasn't starving. You know, I had just had dinner a few hours before, that I was going to be totally fine. I remembered in Paris how I would be hungry after dinner, but I would just suffer through it because I wasn't about to go into Madame Chic's kitchen and get in trouble and start eating. I know that people have done it, people do it in history. This is what our great-grandparents did, for example. So I just channeled that and I kept on going. So it is hard, but you do have to push through it. You're retraining your body, essentially. Bethany says, do you ever battle food cravings while preparing food for the rest of your family during your fasting window? So funny enough, the way I do it, this doesn't happen too much. We don't eat breakfast together, but we never have because everybody wakes up at different times. So my 2 youngest children are the first to be up. I will make their breakfast. I am not hungry or sweating that when I'm making their breakfast. I do not want food at that point. So I will make their breakfast usually around 7 or 7:30 in the morning, sometimes 8. I have no problem with that because, like I said, I'm not hungry then, so that's not an issue. My 2 older children, my daughters, they make their own breakfast when they wake up, and they wake up at a later time. So they make their own breakfast. So I make my own breakfast at 9 and that works for me. Sometimes one of my daughters will make a smoothie and save me one, or I'll make a smoothie and give it to them. But typically I just help myself at 9 o'clock in the morning. Lunch is the main meal of the day for me, and then dinner is a light meal. Now, my children do not do intermittent fasting. It's important to note that. And so we have dinner at 5. I know that seems really early to people, but we have always had dinner at 5. It's not something new that I started just for intermittent fasting. I've always liked to eat early. And I think that's because I don't want to be cooking and cleaning late at night. I'm just so done at the end of the day. So we've always had an early dinner. So we eat at 5. My children will eat probably one more time before they go to bed. So they'll have a healthy snack at 7:30 or so before they go to bed. So that's how we do it in our household. And it works for us. And praise God, my children are very healthy and there's no problems there. So I'm not really making people food when I'm in my eating window. Although sometimes late at night, I will do some freezer cooking. You probably saw that in my recent homemaking to keep calm video. I was making a shepherd's pie late at night after everyone was asleep. I think the most difficult thing with that is that you can't taste it to see if the seasonings are right. But I don't struggle with that. Although my sister, she does intermittent fasting. She does long fasts. And so on her days when she is fasting the whole day, she'll do a cooking day where she cooks everything for the family and then she's able to enjoy it the next day. So she says she doesn't mind at all too. I don't know, it's not an issue for either one of us. Okay, Amanda wants to know what small adjustments I have made. Literally the only adjustment I have made is the coffee. So now I wake up, I still wake up at about 5 in the morning and I will have my first coffee at around 7, sometimes 6:30, but usually 7. I do add heavy cream to my coffee. I don't measure it, I just put it in and it's probably a couple of teaspoons, I would say. So I do that. I wasn't doing that before when I was trying to lose weight, but now I've added the cream back. There's no other adjustments I've made. I haven't cut sugar. I do have a tea time treat every day. I do have sugar. But the thing is, and a lot of people have brought this up, is that we are all different. And I was never pre-diabetic or anything like that. There are some people who do have to watch their sugar. There are some people who do have to watch their carbs. But if you're not one of them, if you're like me, then I don't see the point of cutting it out. So I do eat bread. And it's really not a problem for me. But that's not to say that it won't be a problem for you. So again, I just highly recommend that you discuss this with a doctor or a nutritionist. Aisha asks, what was the pace of your weight loss? Did your weight plateau? If so, for how long? Okay, so the pace of my weight loss probably worked out to about 2 pounds a week, I guess. Is that what we're thinking? 1 or 2 pounds a week when I was in the weight loss mode. It did plateau at 116 for a very long time. And then out of nowhere, it went down to 112. And that was when I went to the doctor and said, is everything okay? I haven't changed anything. I'm not on a diet or anything. So we determined that it was fine. So I don't know, it did plateau at 116. And I know a lot of you say that you end up plateauing as well. So I don't know why the body does that, but it just does. Okay, this is a really good question. Heather says, did you ever find it hard to get 3 meals during the 8-hour window? I've been finding that I have just 2 because my appetite has decreased. Yes, your appetite decreases. And that could be a negative thing or a positive thing. Yes, sometimes I do only have 2 meals. If I have a large breakfast and then a really large late lunch, for example, I just don't have dinner. I don't have that early dinner. And I don't want it. I might have a little snack or something, but sometimes I do go down to just 2 meals because I'm not hungry. I typically try to fit in 3, and you'll notice if you watch my What I Eat in a Day videos that breakfast is pretty light. I don't have a heavy breakfast typically. Lunch is pretty heavy. And then tea time, there's always tea time in there, a little treat. And then dinner is pretty light typically for me. And that tends to work for me. So it might not work for other people. Some people said they have to have a really heavy dinner or they suffer later on. But for me, that's what it is. Sometimes I get to dinner and I'm not hungry at all, but I still have something because I think, well, I can't stop it, or I don't want to stop at 1 o'clock, for example. So I do eat something at 5, something light like lentil soup or a salad. And I'm always glad that I do that. But I think that that is pretty normal to have a decreased appetite. Okay, Karen said that you were losing weight at one point. You spoke to your doctor about it and she said to up your healthy fats. Did this work for you? Yes, so I did up the healthy fats, the avocado and all of that, like I mentioned. I did gain weight, like I said, but then I also go back down. So I think it's helped me plateau, and I do not anticipate losing any more weight. Definitely not going under 112. Okay, Bramber says, I struggle to cook the evening meal early enough. Do you have advice for parents with manic schedules, particularly those with older children with later activities? So this is not my case. But if it were my case, here's what I would do. I would meal prep. and I would have a healthy dinner. I would know what I was eating and I would have it ready to go, so that if you are on the go, you can eat when you want to, or you don't need to. What you don't want to do is come home and then have to cook a big old dinner and that take an hour, and then you're eating really late at night and you don't want to. So I would just say meal prep and meal planning. And if any of you have tips for her down below, please let us know. I know there's a lot of nurses, or you work night shifts and different schedules. So I know that people can make it work for them. You just need to adjust that more. Okay, Marlene says, I heard in a video today that IF shouldn't be daily, but your off days shouldn't be regular. For instance, on the weekends, because your body will anticipate that and adapt. Her suggestion was to switch it up so that your body won't know what to expect. Do you think this is correct? I think that that sounds probably good. And do I switch it up? Do I have a day where I don't do the 16-8? I do, usually once a week, usually on the weekends. I'll have a later dinner or an earlier breakfast, like on Sunday. We might have waffles at 8 or something like that, or I'll have something later, so I don't worry about it. I'm too lax. In fact, I don't worry about it at all. I don't want you to think this. I'm never thinking, okay, my eating window has stopped. I just generally try to have dinner at 5 and then I'm done. It's very effortless. I don't think about it. It's just a lifestyle. It doesn't rule my life, okay? Maybe switch it up and see how it works for you. If that seems to work, if that's what your doctor says you should do. There's different thoughts on this, that women, when they approach their cycle, when they're on their cycle, they should do things differently, maybe not fast at all. Sometimes I do that. It just depends, but it's really individual, I think, for every person. And that's why I can't give you any advice on this. Okay, Sarah has a similar question to an earlier one. Do you ever have problems with under eating? I'm just not that hungry during my 8-hour window, and I think that it's what causing my energy levels to be so low during my 16-hour fast. I hate having to force myself to eat though. Any tips? So this sounds like an individual thing for each person, but I have experienced a decreased appetite. But like I said, even when I'm not hungry, if I have a nice light meal that's flavorful and delicious, I can usually enjoy that. So I think that that is what you should look into as well. So in conclusion, I do plan to do this indefinitely. I like this lifestyle a lot. It really works for me. I feel very happy. I have people in my family who have seen incredible results from also doing this, like my father, my mother's doing it, my sister's doing it, and we're all very happy with this. So I couldn't be happier with this discovery. I know this isn't for everybody, but I know that the people that this is for, that it has changed your life, and I'm so happy to hear this. So I hope that you enjoyed this intermittent fasting 2-year update. I will continue to chronicle my journey here on YouTube. I hope that you will subscribe to my channel, and I just want to thank you so much for being a part of this. If you have any more questions, please leave me a question down below, and perhaps I can address it in a follow-up video. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Daily Connoisseur. Keep calm and remain classy, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.